Hi, I'm Erica Labuzan Lopez, licensed marriage and family therapist and licensed professional counselor, and I'm coming to you today to talk about the 5 everyday life hacks to promote mental wellness. Number 1, write down your wins, no matter how small they may seem. This is so important because our brains are hardwired to see all of the negative things that are happening to us. Our brains kind of think about them as threats to our well-being and survival. And so what we need to do is make sure we are actively noticing the things that we're doing well. They can be small, like you washed your face when you didn't really feel like it, or you made it to work on time when you've been struggling to do that for the past week or so. All of these things add up. So what I do is carry around a small notebook and review all of those wins at the end of the day. And it's always surprising how many things I was able to do. It can really help flip that in your brain. Number 2, set a boundary around processing uncomfortable emotions. So we all deal with uncomfortable emotions, things that we typically try to avoid: sadness, fear, anger, resentments, and humans can come up with all kinds of things to get around those emotions. And so what I really want to convey here is that we have to accept reality and we have to acknowledge that those things are happening. So we want to stop avoiding them, but we also don't want to get caught in a pattern of rumination and have those things take over our life. And so in order to combat that, what you can do is set aside about a 20 to 30-minute time boundary once a day. And that's going to be now called your processing uncomfortable emotions time. Then when those thoughts come up other parts of the day, like when you're sitting at your desk trying to send an email and you have a thought pop in, you can just go ahead and jot that down and remind yourself, you know what, I'm going to have time to process this later. I don't need to do that right now. And you can alleviate your brain's kind of worry about that. You can use processing time to sing, reflect, journal, yell, scream, whatever it is that you need to do, you can fit it into that time boundary. It makes it so much easier the rest of the day. Number 3, breathe and move. I think that we often overlook the importance of breath and what it can do for us. And it's actually a way that we're moving our body. Most people don't think about it that way, but it does take energy, and expanding the lungs and contracting the lungs is actually movement. So much like I feel strongly about doing things like yoga, intensive training, cardio, other forms of exercise, because I think that that movement is so important for our bodies, breathing also counts. So you're already winning. Basically, we need to find ways to get out of the thinking brain. We hold a lot of information in. We have a high cognitive load, and we need to balance that. Otherwise, we'll get stuck in thinking brain and our bodies just kind of get lost. We need a lot more balance between that. And most of us use our thinking brains most of the time for our jobs or dealing with other conflicts, other problem-solving issues that are coming up throughout the day. So move, move, move. It will help you so much. Number 4, have a self-care list ready to go. So when we're in the midst of something stressful, our brains like pretty much shut off. There's just no way that we can access the things that actually work for us to feel better, feel taken care of, allow us to take a second to pause. And so I like to keep a list on my phone. It's Erica's self-care list, simple. And it has things that I know have worked for me over time. Listening to music, reading, talking with a friend, listening to my favorite musical and singing at the top of my lungs. That one is great. Coloring, reaching out to somebody you haven't seen in a while, looking at pictures of your last vacation. There are so many things, big and small, that takes time, that doesn't take hardly any time, that you can do. And don't put all that stress on your brain. Again, cognitive load. Take out that cognitive load, pull out your list, pick the one that's going to work for the scenario, and go from there. And number 5, engage in flexible thinking. Flexible thinking is so important. Our brain is a muscle, and it actually has quite a capacity for flexibility and plasticity. A lot of us think we can't change our brains, we can't change our thoughts, we can't teach an old dog new tricks. But what we've actually learned is that's not entirely true. Our brains have an amazing ability to learn new things, change perspective, rewire themselves with some active work. We have an amazing ability to directly challenge thoughts that we have and then move into thinking about something in a new way, in a way that's probably more productive and more helpful. Those initial thoughts that pop up in our brain, again, they're trying to keep us safe, but often what happens is they're not the most adaptive things, and they kind of get triggered by places of underlying issues or emotions that have gone unprocessed. And so our first thought is not usually the most helpful thought. Remind yourself, hey, that's a thought. It's valid. It exists. I can see it, but it's probably not the most helpful thing. So how can I stretch my brain to see things differently? Thank you so much for listening to my video about the 5 life hacks to optimize mental wellness. I'll see you guys next time.